Hey, I'm AJ,
I'm Zach.
and this is Fresh Tactics.
All right, guys. So we just started our watches, and this is 30 minutes to nonprofit. That doesn't sound like anything, really. Like, it's usually like 30 minutes to profit. This is a follow-up to our Pipe Hitters recap, in which we said we were going to talk about 206 South, which is our nonprofit, which is something that we received a couple emails and messages about because people want some more information on it. Not just that, like how they can maybe start their own, how we run events like we did with Pipe Hitters to actually make profits so people can support other people and do fucking good in the world. All right. So we did start these watches because we're going to keep this to 30 minutes because our last one ran a little long and we have a class coming up. So if you listen to this and like, it was too short, sorry. All right. Thanks for playing.
We have lives.
We have lives. We have jobs, actually. Jobs to actually keep this thing going. And by this thing, what I'm talking about is 206 South. Some people know it as 206 Teens, but it is so much more than that. I'm going to talk about briefly kind of the mission statement behind South, and then AJ is going to talk a little bit about more so the business stuff because not only does she run a gym and is a Pipe Hitters champion and world record holder and master of sport, but she also has a master's in business. Excuse me.
Masters in Business Administration.
And yes, so she knows how to run some shit. Yeah. So 206 South is something that's very important to me because when I opened up my first gym 10 years ago, which was CrossFit West Seattle, which technically I did not own, but I opened it in my hometown, and it was important for me at the time to get out of the personal training industry to offer affordable training to people because it was too expensive. And not only was CrossFit something I was very passionate about, CrossFit was the outlet I saw for that. And I went down the rabbit hole, ended up with my own gyms, yada, yada, yada down the way. Everyone ends up playing the game. Seattle prices on CrossFit are astronomical. Profit or like costs for CrossFits across the board, not just the States, everywhere. When I go teach, I'm not going to name names for countries, but I go to some countries and it's like $350 US to go to these gyms. And it's just too much. It's just too much. Again, it's just not what I want out of what I'm doing with my life. So I reference that because there's a couple things that go along with South, one of which is the nonprofit teen program, right? So we have a free teen program that they can get a scholarship with us. 13, 14 is about the start age, and they have it till they're 19 because I'm not going to have a kid get done with high school when he's 18 and kick him out. That's not the way it works. We're not in here targeting athletes either. A lot of people that start like CrossFit Kids programs or teen programs, like get your athletes in here. I don't want that. I mean, don't get me wrong. I work with a bunch of athletes that want to get better, but I want the kids that don't feel comfortable with physical culture and they feel like, they would kind of be like social misfits. Shit, like
and maybe don't feel comfortable in their own body too.
Exactly. Well, we're like the social misfits of fucking CrossFit. Like we joke about our
in our jeans and our cars.
Yeah, in our jeans and our CrossFits. We run our gym like a skate shop. We do things our own way, and that's how we've done it. And, that's just part of the way I was raised up to. And the big catalyst in pushing me out to do this was a program that me and AJ created that was called Live Forward. Those of you that are familiar with the podcast, if not, I have something called borderline personality disorder. I got diagnosed 3 years ago now?
Yeah.
About 3 years ago now, and I went fully into recovery because I'd been living with it since I was 17, and it had really fucked up my life pretty bad. And part of that was we started something called Live Forward. We started monthly meetings to get out and like help people and like give people a place to talk to. And just something that we really realized was the stigma behind mental health was still a very heavy thing. And for me and AJ, when things have been hard in our lives, one of the things that we've had to fall back to was physical culture, was the athletic outlet, was the gym. So when Live Forward was getting to a point where we were with the same group of people and not being able to expand out because of the stigma of people being like, I don't want to open up about my mental health issues. We're like, well, how can we help? How can we keep helping? What can we do with the skill sets that we've acquired? And the skill sets that I've acquired is I'm a really fucking good coach, like really fucking good coach. And I've always had this passion to give back something to my community. So if I could get people into the gym and into healthy lifestyles, this is going to help at that front line. And I'm not just talking about like health issues of diabetes, overweight, all that stuff is going to get help with. For me, a large part of it is the mental health aspect and getting people into a positive community. And that's a very, very important thing to me. And if the fucking barrier is set by money that you're not welcome in an area because you can't afford it, that is not going to work for me. Now, every single gym owner that's listening to this, you are not doing anything wrong for having higher prices. You probably have a family, you have a mortgage, you have a gym payment, you want new equipment all the time. You have things that you want to do with your life. I have chosen to do something with mine, and I have found like-minded people that want to do it too. And a catalyst for South was Live Forward. And we run that out of Hinge. Hinge is our gym. So Hinge is the focal point for us to be able to have an area to actually do this. So the idea with South was not only to get back to the root with teens that maybe don't feel comfortable. Like I got misdiagnosed, which sucked, when I was 17. And I wish I could have maybe had some more positive influences in my life to help me out with some other things. Not that my parents didn't fucking love me and help me out with everything, but I could have used some different role models in adults. So we want to give positive role models to kids that are doing this. Doesn't mean there's anything wrong with them. Doesn't mean there's anything wrong with these kids.
But even if as a teen you're completely neurotypical and everything's going fine for you, you still struggle because
you're just a teen.
You're full of hormones. You feel like your world's falling apart.
So we want to give them a space to come to too, where they have positive adult adult interaction, because they mostly interact with you. It's not like they're all interacting with me. They're kind of scared of me. So like
one day, one of our teens came in a little teary because she'd been in a car accident earlier in the day, and Zach was like, "You need to go teach. I can't, AJ. I can't."
Yeah.
It was pretty funny in hindsight.
So that's the mission behind 206, is to offer this free program for kids, to get these kids. We're even raising money to get a van so we can go pick them up from school. I mean, we're going on.
You know where public transit sucks? South Park. Fucking
yeah.
South Park.
South Park, which is where we bought a building so we could lower our monthly rate to as low as possible in Seattle. I had one of the fanciest facilities in Seattle, in Soto, and I still had the lowest rates, and I just fought it. And I was like, you know what we're going to do? We're going to go out, we're going to buy a building, we're going to lower our rates even more, and we're going to put a sliding scale in place through South that's going to allow people all the way down to $45 to get quality education from world-class coaches. And if that's a cringe factor to call myself a world-class coach or to look at my staff like that, I don't care.
It's true.
We are trying to offer something more to people. And again, guys, if you're listening to this, don't get on a guilt trip. Don't think you need to do it. I've had people reach out like, I need to do what you're doing, Zach. No, you don't. It's really, really hard. And AJ is going to talk about this because, like I said, this is 30 minutes to nonprofit. But that's some background on it. It wasn't just like, hey, we want to help kids. Hey, we want to do this. This was 10 years in the making of me wanting to give something back to my city that I love, and then seeing how can I help with the mental health issues out there, and how can I help kids that are maybe underprivileged, and maybe how can I help, adults that are in hard spots too, and I want everyone to be able to experience what anybody that goes into a CrossFit gym and loves. I want anyone to be able to experience that, because it's pretty fucking magical to get in a good fucking community. So that was my side. I did pretty good on that. All right, AJ, I'm going to turn it over to you. I'm trying not to talk at all.
All right. So in terms of getting a nonprofit started, for those people who maybe you're listening to this like, oh man, I should do something like this. This sounds rad. Start with volunteering your time, finding like maybe individual donors to like offset your sliding scale stuff, don't jump into creating a nonprofit. Find another organization that you can associate yourself with. Don't jump into creating a nonprofit if you don't have to, because there are thousands of new ones being created every year, and it's a lot of hard work. You have to assign a board of directors. You have to be completely transparent about your finances. So you have to put together reports every year that are submitted to the government that are able for open for the public to see. You have to cross your T's and dot your I's every single step of the way, or your nonprofit status can be revoked. So if you want to volunteer your time, money, expertise, whatever, see if there's another way you can do that before you jump into, hey, I think I need to start something new because I'm a unique snowflake. The reason that we took this last step was because, like Zach said, it's something that we've been kind of working on in different iterations for years, and finally now we are at the point where we're like, hey, this could become big enough. When we're talking about like purchasing vehicles and stuff, this could become big enough.
You're talking about purchasing a vehicle.
Fuck yeah, we're getting a van.
I'm
beep beep.
I'm
beep,
out,
beep.
Yeah, I'm outside.
You're not supposed to be talking.
I'm outside doing the siding and shit. Beep beep. Keep
yeah, I showed Kevin where one of us hit the truck on the building.
I'll take that. I'll say it was me. It might have been you.
It might have
Whatever.
been. Anyway,
okay, back to your point.
So
actually, the one thing I did want to say is as you're talking about this, I want everyone to realize the fact that, as I said, AJ got her master's, and on top of that, she has talked with another member that we have that runs nonprofits, and then you talked to some other guy too. So don't think that you can just go do it. It's a ton. There's no way I could have done
the
this.
paperwork just to apply, and then once you're approved, the paperwork to stay current. Make sure everyone has their tax deductible receipts. Making sure that your reports are ready to go every quarter. It's. I'm not gonna lie, it's kind of a nightmare. I'm a little bit used to it because I actually totally coincidentally worked in a notary office when I was in college, and so I kind of have an idea of some of the stuff on the Canadian side. And then coming down here, I had to fill out many government forms in order to stay here legally. So I'm kind of getting used to the way the American government works. So it's no more frustrating than filling out visa paperwork, which I have to do anyway. So it's getting there. And I have, like Zach said, good people to ask questions of when I don't know the answer. If this is something you want to start, definitely find someone you trust to advise you, and make sure that you're not just like, okay, I guess I'll check that box. Disclose everything and plan ahead when you're doing this. In terms of the actual sliding scale and how that works, because we get a lot of questions about that, I researched the median income in Seattle, as well as the national poverty line, because obviously living in Seattle, what is considered poverty is totally different than in Arkansas or whatever. Shout out to Arkansas. Hopefully we're going to go teach a course there in Little Rock. And took a look at not only people's income, their net income, but also their dependents. So if, regardless of whether it's your invalid parents that you're taking care of, your kids, your grandkids, nieces, nephews, whatever, for every dependent you have, the line at which you are eligible for each kind of tier or level of our sliding scale goes up. So I've finagled it a little bit, did a bunch of research, and then checked it against some other sliding scale kind of matrices that were posted from other businesses, and then also checked it out with our friend Emily to make sure, like, hey, am I kind of on the right track with this? So we have several tiers of membership. Our regular membership is $145 a month, and then it drops down to $95, $75, and then finally $45 for unlimited training.
Yep.
Yeah. And then the way that works is those members who are on sliding scale pay that money, and then the difference, whether it's $50 or $100, is made up by the money that's donated to 206.
Yep, the fundraiser.
Yeah.
You happy with that? What you just said? All that stuff? You need add anything else?
I'm trying to think of what, I mean, the other big thing that I never thought I'd be doing, and don't necessarily always like doing, is the event planning side of things.
I was going to kind of mention that next.
So obviously, if you have a nonprofit, you have to constantly be fundraising, and that takes a lot of creativity and like kind of artistic qualities that I don't always have, and also some organizational qualities that I have, but sometimes they're a little reduced because there's a million things going on. So we also have an amazing human being in Jen Hayden, who has been helping me so much planning auctions and fundraisers and galas and all sorts of stuff, and that is like I just can't quantify how helpful that is. So making sure that not only are you ready to do all the business side of things, but you also need to be prepared to be constantly hustling, just like a startup, basically, as to where your funding is going to come from next.
All right. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to kind of talk, not businessy, but my businessy side or aspect of the growth of the nonprofit. And then I'm going to turn it back over to AJ to finish out in under the 30-minute mark. So we said 30 minutes to nonprofit, and we can do this, where she gets a chance to talk about kind of how I started and what the mission statement means to her and why she's in on this, because she's part of what I'm about to talk about. And the question I had was, well, how do you get this going? And this is all I gotta say. It's fucking 100% transparency. Like, you have got to be a genuine individual. It does not mean that there are not people who know me or know of me that don't think I'm an asshole. I'm not going to say that. It's not like everyone's like, Zach's the nicest guy in the fucking world. Everybody should support him. I don't think that's the case. The thing behind it, though, is I'm very upfront about the fact that the things I do, I am doing for something I believe in, and I believe in this. And everything that I've done over the last 10 years for our gym and the gym community and the people that we care about and the fundraisers that we've done has always been 100% transparent. And people know that when I'm doing something, I'm doing it correctly. So you build a support group. You have to have a support group. Like, and I don't want to like rain on anyone's parade. It took me 10 years to build my support group. All right. Now, part of that transparency too in building that was the fact that I wasn't fully transparent with people sometimes as far as the hardships that were associated with the gym. There was transition points between living spaces where I lived in gyms. There was points where I went months without paychecks. We have opened this gym and we have not been collecting full paychecks since we've started it, and it's because we believe in what we're doing here. You are potentially signing up for hard times. That does not mean you will. You might open it up and it might just hit off like fucking wildfire and everyone's going to love what you're doing and that's it. But don't think that you're like going to put this sign up and be like, we're here to help, and everyone's going to fall in line to do it. What I was very lucky was that I had spent about a decade building up this group of people that are with this gym. And when we're like, hey, we're moving our gym to South Park, which was different from where we were. I understand if you guys can't come. It might be a further commute to you. And here's why we do it. Every single person believed in what we were doing. Every single person believed in it. No one complained that there would be a sliding scale put in place. No one complained that someone else might not be paying as much as them. And the fact of the matter was we didn't have enough money to make up the sliding scale in the beginning. So
because our nonprofit hadn't been approved.
Yeah, we had a ton of people that were in here paying nothing, and we weren't making anything off of it. And that was fine, because that was the goal. And we were like, this will work out. Mm-hmm. So part of it is that transparency of, hey, we're doing this because we're doing this for this team program, we're doing this for this sliding scale, and we're trying to get this out to people. You have to let them know why you're doing it. Don't come at them like a bleeding heart. Don't try and shake people down. Like, that's garbage. If somebody wants to support your cause, they will. And we've had some big outpourings as of late, as we've opened up a bit more about some of the aspects of the gym and the sliding scale process that has really turned the tides in people helping us out. But, you know, it is not an easy thing, and it's not something that, like, you know, you want to bet the farm on, but we did. Now, the people that have reached out to me to ask questions seem like they already have established businesses and things like that, and this isn't going to be like a make or break, and they're not slashing all their prices down, but they want to figure out how they can help out people. And I'm like, get a good support group. Get the support group that's going to help you out. I am lucky enough to have a community in my gym that supports it. AJ, I'm going to turn the floor over to her in a minute, believes in what we do. I'm lucky enough to have that. My girlfriend has 100% believed in what we do. I live with her. We say we own a house. I don't own that fucking house. She owns that fucking house, right? I jokingly say I squat. She's like, squat. Don't worry, guys. We're very much in love. But I joke that I'm not contributing. I wish I was contributing back. I'm making it work the best I could. If I wasn't living with her right now, it wouldn't be working very well. But she is supporting something that's working, and it is working, and the tide's changing in it. And that's because we went all in on something. Now, again, if you're doing something on a smaller scale, which I highly recommend if you're going to do it, much like what we say we had the Tim Brent Memorial Fund, that was something that we did to support a family of a friend that had lost their father, and that worked. And it really did work. And I can help you guys out with events and stuff like that. But if you're going to do things, you can't go door to door beating it down and shoving it down people's throats, because nobody wants to hear this is why we need it, and you have to support me. Get people to believe in what you're doing, and that's through being transparent and honest. And the people that believe in that will find you, and they will support you, and that's how things take off. And that's what I have to say on my business end, on how I built something. I got people to believe in the fact that I genuinely care about Seattle. It is my home, and I love it, and I want to do what I can to give back, and the only way I can do that is off my greatest skill set, which is a coach. And that's what I'm trying to do, be it for the kids or the community neighborhood of South Park and the greater Seattle area. We're trying our best to get out there, and we're getting a shitload of help lately, and I can't thank everybody enough for that, and it's been huge. Now, what I want to do with our last 7 minutes, because this was 30 minutes nonprofit, and I feel like we're doing a pretty good job. If you guys have other questions about event planning, AJ said you can help. I can tell you how to help. If you listen to the Pipe Hitters podcast that we had prior to this one, I'm actually pretty fucking good at it. And I can throw one hell of a party, too. But we have Jen Hayden who decorates, which really helps, too. There's that part of that support group. Now, I'm going to turn the floor over to AJ to kind of close this thing out, because, as I said, I had a support group. AJ was one of the ones that stepped in and was like, all right, we're going to do this. Like, you and me, we're going to go into this. We have support from everybody else. God bless the fact that we have Jesse, keeping me in it too. But why South? Why 206? Why did you buy in? Why was this important? It wasn't just like, hey, I think Zach's got a good idea, because it's not like this is, like, as we keep telling you guys, it's been really fucking hard.
Oh, Zach, you're so smart.
Yeah, and it just keeps getting harder, but it's because you believe in something. So why 206?
So for me, being active always has been a big part of my life, and definitely a big part of feeling comfortable where I was at, or coping with whatever was going on in my life. There's been lots of shitty things, from my dad being a meth addict to being chronically ill in high school to, blah, 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 blah. Everyone's got their problems. But when I was 18, I started doing CrossFit and just totally fell in love with it. And not only did it give me a really good physical outlet, but it also really broadened the types of people that I would interact with every day. So rather than just interacting with other university students or whatever, I was all of a sudden had friends who were parents and, you know, in the military and like all sorts of different careers and stuff. And to me, that was really important to get that interaction with other adults and kind of put it in perspective. Like, listen, high school is not the be all end all. College is not the be all end all. There's so much more that you can do with your life, and you can literally do whatever you want, because upon talking to all these adults, no one is really where they thought they would be 10 years ago, 20 years ago, whatever. And then as we were kind of working on some Live Forward stuff in Soto, we had a couple kids who were kind of coming on and off into the gym, and Zach and I were talking about it, and we just weren't loving the huge facility and the pressure to be this like kind of perfect bougie gym. We kind of like the garage gym vibe, and talking about it, we felt like, wow, working with these kids is the absolute highlight of our day and of our week. And so let's put more of that into our lives. And Zach kind of joked that I'm the one to like often do most of the teen classes. And I freaking love those kids. And there's something about talking to teenage girls and just knowing like you have your whole life ahead of you, and you don't even know how much better your life can get. And how cool is it that you are not so concerned about what you look like or what clothes you fit into, but that you're strong and that you want to do well in your wrestling season, or you want to do well on the cheer team this year, or you don't do any other sports, but you just really like feeling strong and feeling capable. That, you know, and the guys too, same applies, but especially for the teenage girls, to me, that is so impactful, and there's nothing better that I could be doing. And like Zach said, with the Live Forward stuff, so many of the adults that we did end up getting to talk to, so much of that trauma or whatever, like, negative mental issues that have happened in their life kind of started in that teenage area. And so what better way to kind of head it off at the pass and to build some really, really strong resiliency in those same teen years, and give them someone to talk to, a neutral third party that's not a parent or a teacher or whatever.
Pretty much, guys. We have 2 minutes left on our stopwatch, and we did it.
Nailed it.
We did 30 minutes nonprofit. What I want to kind of end out with that is like me and AJ, and I'm not saying that you other owners out there aren't, because I know you fucking are. I know you guys are out there, and it's like I've said before, being an entrepreneur is like the hardest job in the world. But we are totally 100% about that life. We are, this is what we do. Like I said, not collecting checks, living in gyms. I didn't have a car for 4 years, something like 4 or 5 years. AJ literally relocated her entire life to a different country and decided to stay here and become part of an ownership in a building and a business because she believes in it. And if you guys want to talk to people that are passionate about it to help you on a path to maybe starting something smaller, get a hold of us. We'll help you out. You need some help with like getting some ideas for event planning, how to start small, get a hold of us, help us out. We're not saying you got to jump in the deep end with a fucking 40-pound pack on like we did, but we did it because that's how we choose to live our lives, and it is becoming one of the most rewarding things that we've ever done. So hopefully this 30 minutes to nonprofit has helped you guys out, and it maybe just gives you that entryway into a way you can be a better impact in your community, not just your gym's community, but the community of the city that you live in the town, whatever. But you know what, to do that, guys, you got to get the ball rolling somewhere. Find some people to support you. And remember, when all else fails, fresh tactics.